it's Shanghai Wonderfest 2019. As you can see from this video here, the lines were long and the crowd was insane, rushing in the moment the doors opened to get the show exclusive items. What are those items? Well, I'm going to share it with you at the end of the video, so stay tuned to find out what are those show exclusive limited items are. We're going to start off with Infinity Studio, a statue and brand producer from China, and their sculpt of Ben Affleck as Batman looks amazing. I think it's highly detailed. But what everyone is talking about is really this one. The Wonder Woman bust looks highly detailed, very realistic. Really love how Gal Gadot is having this dynamic pose. And I have to say, Infinity Studios and overall, I think most of the China bust and statue makers have really upped their game in terms of producing high quality busts and statues for collectors. Really amazing. Not sure yet what the price is, but I'm sure one is announced, it's probably going to sell out very quickly. Now let's look at 3A and 30. They have amazing Transformers line coming up, and I'm sure by now you've seen this Optimus and also Bumblebee. Highly detailed, and for the price, seriously, it's worth every single penny. The amount of detail and the paint job is something else I've not seen for Transformers figures of late. So for me, I would say that 3 and 30 is seriously banking on the Transformers line, and I'm very sure they're selling very well, especially in China where Transformers is seriously very big. But to me, I'm not very keen on looking at Optimus Prime and all the different variations. Yes, the new design looks amazing, but what I'm really excited about are actually the baddies, right? The Megatron and also Starscream. So thankfully, they've also released a few different versions. They also revealed the Starscream and Megatron for purchase. No details yet in terms of price, at least what we don't know yet, because it's kind of hard to tell from the pictures that we get from the internet. So we're not physically in Shanghai to cover the event, unfortunately, so there's only so much that we can pull out from the internet to cover the entire Wonderfest. And seriously, there are a lot of things that's happening in Wonderfest today. It was also interesting to see Game of Thrones figures from 3A and 30, so it looks quite good. Surprisingly, there aren't a lot of figures at this point for Game of Thrones, given how popular the series is, and I was kind of hoping that Hot Toys and the rest of them will actually be jumping on the bandwagon, but for now, seriously, I think 3 and 30 is probably the one that has the most Game of Thrones figures for purchase if you want to. And surprisingly, they also have The Walking Dead, so the usual suspect, all the main characters are here from the latest season. If you ask me, I used to be a very big fan of The Walking Dead until the last 2 seasons, where it got very draggy and way too slow, way too boring, and I kind of give up. And I'm not sure whether this line is going to sell at all, because I think a lot of fans just fell out of favor with the series, because the series just ended terribly. So that is one unfortunate part. But the good news is they are also producing something of Robotica, then that is the Pet Labo series. So surprisingly, they will be releasing some Pet Labo figures very soon in 1/6 form. And for me, I don't know the Pet Labo series very well, so I will probably be skipping that. But the one that I'm actually very keen on is their new manga Ultraman series. So I'm a big fan of Ultraman, and especially the design for new manga Ultraman. So it does look like for 3 and 30 they've gone with the Netflix anime version colors instead of the manga version colors. So definitely looks great. I already pre-ordered the Ultraman and also Ultra 7 figures, just waiting for those guys to actually reach my home when the guy is made available. And surprisingly, they're also releasing the One Punch Man. So you get Genos and also the main character Saitama is coming up very so I have to say Genos' sculpt looks very anime-ish like, and also even for Saitama itself, very bland, but they, instead of going for the pure white, it's a little bit tan. Saitama looks a little bit tan compared to the anime. And also surprisingly, they are releasing the Full Metal Alchemist Edward and the can't remember the name of the brother, Alphonse. Alphonse is coming up very soon, so I think Alphonse looks great, but Eric, doesn't look that great as well. So moving on, there's also a new, I'm not sure whether they're new, but I've not heard of these guys before, but it's called Crude Props. So they're releasing I think they're 1-to-1 scale alien bust, and these guys looks highly detailed. If only I could afford them. I think if you're a movie prop collector, and especially a big fan of Alien, given how this year is the anniversary of Alien, and there's a lot of new mini-series coming up for Aliens. In case you have not watched it, go to YouTube and find those new Alien short stories that's been made by fans. And there's also new stuff coming up from Crude Props that's related to the Predator series. So I've heard to say that Predator series from Crude Props looks highly detailed. If you're a big fan of Predator, you are really spoiled for choice, because I think almost every con that I've been to and every con that I've seen on the internet, someone is making a Alien or a Predator bust somehow, somewhere. Good news if you're a 1/6 military figure collector. Jekyll X have their full range of products and also preview of their Jekyll X and Snow Corporation for preview and also for sale, I believe, at the Wonderfest Shanghai. We're not sure, we're not there, but I have to say some of these new figures that we've not seen before definitely looks very attractive indeed, especially the new gears. And as usual, I really dig the exoskeleton that's been built into their range. If you have seen our previous review of the John Reese figure, if you have not, click on the top right link above right now to see that review. But if you love Jekyll X, I think you should pre-order as soon as possible, because their products sell out way too quickly, and I think they should probably make a little bit more. I've been hearing a lot of fans complaining that they cannot get their hands on the John Reese and also the different variations. So if you're a big fan, make sure you order it very quickly. Now, one interesting thing that I discovered at the show was actually this series, Zenpunk and Dark Steel. I really like these dark, how do I say, they're not really horror, but just a little bit more of dark gothic theme, I would say. Not grotesque in any way, but for me, I really find it very appealing, because I'm attracted to horror genre and all these different sculpt of how do I say, very artistic gothic dark figures, and also symbols, icons. I'm not too sure what to say, but they definitely look very interesting. So hopefully I can get my hands on some of these things. And that's one of the best things about going to a con, right? You get to see not only the big brands such as the usual suspects of Bandai, Primal Studios, and everybody else, but you get to discover some new smaller brands which you've never heard of. And speaking of different, Kids Logic, we've been reaching out to them for many years, but they've not yet replying to us because maybe we're too small. But I've always liked what they've done with the Macro series, and this time around they actually have quite a few interesting products. But the one that really surprised me for Kids Logic this time around was their release of Senseiya, and I hope I got this right, because the pictures were tagged as Kids Logic and Senseiya. So if they are releasing something new other than their usual typical Macross line, this is a very big surprise to me, because I don't think a lot of brands are really focusing on such a old legacy anime such as Senseiya, despite all the different many reincarnations. But hey, it'll be interesting to see what they can do with the IP. For me, I think so far Senseiya only Sume Art has done some statues on it, but pretty much nobody else. So that's quite interesting. And their trademark Macross cockpit Bluetooth speaker was on display as well. So for those of you who are keen to get one like this with an actual working display LCD screen, you should definitely check it out. Here we have Imaginary Art, or Toys and Toys as they've been calling themselves right now. They also have their Grandizer Grand Mazin Kaiser, I can't remember the name of this guy. So they are also on display. And Toy and Toys also has this Dokunja, I hope I got the name correct, also on display at the Wonderfest. I'm not very familiar with this old robot, this is quite a retro design, but I have to give kudos to them because Imagineering Art has produced quite a lot of previous Transformers line before, and I've always been very impressed with their statues in terms of not only the poses but the detail is just amazing, and especially for this guy as well, it looks spectacular. So if you're a big fan of this classic robot series, I think you should definitely get this. Highly detailed. For me, it's an easy pass for me because I don't really know this guy very well from which anime, so probably not from my time. Now, as I mentioned earlier, some of my description of the product here may not be accurate because we don't really have the full information when we look at the pictures from the interweb. And right now I assume that these are the series from Iron Studios because it's labeled as Iron Studios Transformers, and the Shockwave looks amazing. I mean, compared to the ones that we have seen from the old school design, which is a little bit squarish, this one definitely has a lot more detail, and this is from the Bumblebee movie, which is supposed to be the reboot of the entire Transformers franchise, coming very very soon. So for me, I kind of wish that they will go back to the old school design generation 1, which is a little bit more simpler and not too messy in terms of design, but I think everyone to their own, right, in terms of design. For me, I would definitely want to talk to my partner Big Pete if we should definitely attend Shanghai Wonderfest next year, because if you compare Shanghai Toy Expo and also Shanghai Wonderfest, it does seem that Wonderfest is a lot bigger in terms of size, scale, and also all the different brands that are actually participating in the show. It seems that you do get a lot more international brands participating, and also the local Chinese brands participating to show off their wares and also up and coming products. So for me, it was actually great to see all the upcoming products from not only the Primal Studios, Iron Studios, but the one that really got me excited was the Joker from Primal Studio that was actually on display at the show as well. That's the Lee Bermejo Joker, which is a little bit more realistic and darker Joker that we have come to know and love. So that one is actually a 1/3 scale Joker that I'm really tempted to actually pre-order, but due to the price, I'm actually holding myself back. But for now, in terms of statue makers in the market, I have to say the Chinese brands are definitely giving the other brands a run for its money. The Queen Studios Collectibles, Infinity Studios have definitely upped their game in terms of what they can also sculpt and produce in China, in competing with big brands such as Primal Studios, XM Studios, and even Sideshow. There are some pictures of Sideshow products in this video at the end of it, which I'm going to share with you later. But I comparing the Sideshow sculpt with all the other Asian brands such as Prime One, XM Studios, Queen Studios, and also Infinity Studios, you kind of get to see there's a very big not say very big gap, but there seems to be a gap in terms of the visual sculpt from Sideshow versus the other brands, which I find quite startling, especially Sideshow has been in the business a lot longer than everybody else. So I'm not sure why the sculpt just doesn't look as good as the other brands that's coming up from Sideshow. So is that a worrying trend? I'm not too sure, but at least the good news is Kyung Kim, remember the Korean sculptor that used to sculpt for Hot Toys, but then she quit for a while to work with a local international investor on a different project, but that didn't pan out. So she actually got hired into Sideshow to work on the Game of Thrones series. So I'm actually quite looking forward to the Game of Thrones series from Sideshow that's been sculpted by Kyung Kim very very soon. But for now, I have to say, I'm definitely looking out towards Queen Studios, Iron Studios and also Infinity Studios in terms of their offerings for statues and busts. Definitely very, very world class. My opinion on Primal Studios is I've always liked that they're getting into a lot of different IPs such as Ultraman and other not so popular IP such as Minions. I was kind of shocked and surprised that they decided to produce Minion statue, which is not something that every adult collector will actually look or think at to buy, but they decided to go on that route. But Primal Studios, I always like the quality of the statues that they've been putting out, especially the size, the 1/3 scale, 1/3 scale, which is extremely large, but I kind of wish that they are in a more dynamic poses. So compared to other different brands such as Iron Studios, XM Studios, and the rest, I think Primal Studios maybe want to rethink about the poses of the sculpts that they're putting out in the market. But maybe that's just me, right? I always like statues that's in a little bit more dynamic pose rather than your just normal standing poses, which looks a little bit bland. So that's for our coverage of Wonderfest 2019. Definitely a lot of new exciting products on display that's coming out as well. I'm sorry if we make any mistakes in our coverage, because like I said again, we're not exactly in Shanghai looking at the pieces directly, and we may have misinterpreted some of the items. But a big thank you to Jazz and also Optimus for providing the pictures for review, and also the video from Primal Collectibles. Definitely appreciate the credit goes back to these guys. So thank you guys for watching, and please do leave a comment down below on what you think about Shanghai Wonderfest 2019. Will you be going to Shanghai Wonderfest? Because it's definitely a lot cheaper than going to Japan Wonderfest for sure. But then again, may not be the same experience, I suppose. So thank you for watching, and do enjoy the rest of the video where we're showcasing all the new product releases that's coming up, being showcased at Shanghai Wonderfest.